Let's jump right into it. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something absolutely fascinating. We're doing a deep dive into the hidden, microscopic foundation of modern global power. You might think you know what drives the modern world, but today, we're going to look really closely at the invisible engine running, well, literally everything around us.
So for over a century, oil was the undisputed king, right? It was the resource that ran the world, triggered massive conflicts, and built entire global empires. But in this new era, true power isn't popped from the ground in these massive heavy barrels. Nope. It hides in a microscopic 1 nanometer chip. These tiny, almost invisible pieces of tech act as the central brains for absolutely everything. And I mean everything. From the toaster sitting in your kitchen, to the smartphone in your pocket, all the way up to advanced nuclear missiles. Now get this, 90%. A staggering 90% of the world's most advanced chips are manufactured in just one tiny location on Earth. Just think about that for a second. Imagine if 90% of the world's entire oil supply came from just a single small city. That is the exact reality we're facing with modern technology right now. And as you can probably guess, it creates an absolutely massive geopolitical choke point.
Today's new oil.
So what exactly are we dealing with here? Semiconductors. They're the foundational 1 nanometer brains you need to run modern tech. To put that crazy size into perspective, a single strand of human hair is about, 80 to 100,000 nanometers wide? You literally cannot see these structures with the human eye. Despite being impossibly microscopic, their impact on our daily lives and military power is inescapably massive. Without these tiny chips, everyday household items revert back to being useless pieces of plastic, advanced fighter jets get grounded, and artificial intelligence, it basically ceases to exist.
Section 2. Taiwan's Silicon Shield. Enter TSMC. That's the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. They are, hands down, the undisputed kings of semiconductor manufacturing. But this insane corporate monopoly has actually created something super fascinating. It's called a silicon shield for Taiwan. Because TSMC is so wildly vital to how the modern world functions, this massive reliance acts like a protective physical barrier. The island's geopolitical safety is practically tied to the fact that the entire planet desperately relies on its factories. And we're talking about the biggest names on the planet being entirely dependent on them. Apple's iPhones, NVIDIA's super complex AI processors, NASA's billion-dollar deep space rovers, they all require these exact chips to function. We're looking at the absolute biggest global tech giants and the most advanced space exploration agencies out there. Whether it's that consumer device sitting in your pocket right now or a probe launching into the cosmos, they all rely on TSMC's singular ability to keep the chips flowing.
But here's the scary part. If Taiwan's production stops, the global economy crashes in minutes. Take a second to really absorb the terrifying fragility of that supply chain. We're not talking about a slow, gradual economic decline over a few months. No, we're talking about an almost instant worldwide economic freeze. Every major industry would be brought to its knees.
Section 3. The US-China War.
When you zoom out, the core motivation for the world's major superpowers is actually pretty simple. Control the chips, and you control artificial intelligence and modern weaponry. Whichever nation secures the supply and the rapid advancement of these microscopic pieces of tech is going to inevitably win the global race for AI dominance and future military supremacy. It's a technological arms race in the truest sense of the word.
Because of this, we're seeing two totally opposing strategies play out on the geopolitical chessboard right now. On one side, the U.S. strategy leans heavily on strict chip bans. They're utilizing regulatory power to stop the most advanced tech from crossing Chinese borders. On the flip side, China is executing this massive, aggressive domestic push, injecting literally trillions of dollars to build up their own chip manufacturing capabilities completely from scratch. It's this fascinating high-stakes balancing act, policy restrictions versus massive capital investment.
Which brings us to a pretty stark realization. As the quote goes, this is not just a trade war. This is a war for global supremacy. Think about the immense weight of that statement. This is way beyond a standard economic dispute over tariffs, or steel, or agriculture. This is a fundamental, structural battle for command over the entire future.
Section 4. The new weapon of geopolitics.
So where does this leave us? Well, we're basically staring down two potentially devastating future outcomes. On one side, we've got the looming threat of severe global shortages. Picture the impact. Empty store shelves, completely stunted technological growth, and major industries just grinding to a halt because they literally can't source the brains required for their products. On the other side, there's an even darker possibility: global conflict. The terrifying chance that these massive geopolitical tensions escalate beyond economics, spiraling into an actual, physical war over access to these microscopic resources.
The bottom line is this: semiconductors are no longer just technology. They are the ultimate geopolitical weapon. The world has fundamentally, irreversibly changed. The invisible, microscopic engines that quietly run our daily lives have been fully weaponized on the world stage, completely redrawing the map of global power.
Which leaves us with one massive, lingering question. Will any other country actually be able to rival Taiwan? Can anyone else effectively replicate this silicon shield? Think about that, because the answer to that question is likely going to define the entire next century of human history. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep digging into these fascinating topics, and I'll catch you in the next one.